Hey friends, Ash here with Gents with another week in fragrance. It's been a couple of weeks since I've done one of these. I actually just went on vacation, got back a couple of days ago, so I'm trying to get caught back up on everything with the channel. Now, the last time I did one of these, I talked about how there were less new releases, it seemed like, over the past few months than there were at the beginning of the year. And that is definitely not the case now. There are a ton of fragrances to go over this week. So don't be surprised if this video is actually divided into two parts. So if that happens, if this is running really long, halfway through the video, I'll tell you that I'm gonna have to just cut this in two parts and we'll just do it that way. I tried to pare this down as much as possible to include only the fragrances that I thought most people would be interested in, but there are still a ton of them. So without further ado, let's jump into this, another week in fragrance, and there are a bunch of them. Now, a lot of these fragrances don't yet have their write-up yet. So they don't have that blurb that the fragrance company sends out to all the media that tells you how amazing their new fragrance is going to be. A lot of these don't have that yet. So sadly, you're gonna have to deal with my commentary on some of these, which is not going to be as mind-blowing as those blurbs usually are. But there's still a few in here for you to listen to. First off, a new Hugo Boss The Scent flanker. Yep, this one is called Boss The Scent Absolute. And there's one for him and for her. I'll just go over the notes really quickly with you here. Boss The Scent Absolute for him has a top of ginger, a heart of maninka fruit and mandia root, and a base of vetiver. And then for her has a top of peach, a mid of roasted coffee, and a base of vanilla and vetiver. Hugo Boss The Scent is one of those fragrance lines that has seemed to grow on more people with each release. So the original The Scent, a lot of people said, oh, I don't like this one, it's a bad release, whatever. And then as it's gone on, people have seemed to like each release a little bit more. So the latest release in this line, before Absolute, that's coming out, was Boss The Scent Private Accord, which is a fragrance that I really like personally, and I know a lot of you out there really like that one as well. Obviously, looking at the notes, the main new thing here is the mandia root, and I can't tell you that I have ever smelled a mandia root. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's no surprise to see ginger and maninka fruit in this release because they've been in basically every Hugo Boss The Scent release as far as men's fragrances go. But again, that mandia root, I guess, is what's going to make this one different. And typically when houses have gone with an absolute name on the end of their fragrance, they're usually going for something that's more of a nighttime type scent, a warmer type scent. So this is one that I anticipate is going to be more for fall and winter, maybe a little bit stronger of a performer, at least I would expect that. It may not be super exciting for a lot of you out there, but personally I'm a fan of the scent line. So this is what I'm looking forward to. Next up, another Hugo Boss fragrance. This one is Boss Bottled Absolute. And what notes does this have? No clue. I can't find any information on the notes yet. I've searched up and down. I can't find anything. I found it on a Danish duty-free website for pre-order, but they don't even have a picture of the bottle on that website, let alone any information on the fragrance itself. Boss Bottled has just a ton of flankers, an enormous amount of flankers, and they're coming out fast. There are a bunch of flankers for the Boss Bottled line that have come out over the past 5 years. For this one, I've got to say my hopes are not really all that high, just based off of how quickly they churn these out and how forgettable a lot of them are. Now that's not to say all of them are forgettable. Boss Bottled Oud was a really good release. Boss Bottled Tonic is one that I like, but a lot of them just kind of fall by the wayside and nobody cares. Regardless though, if you're a big fan of Boss Bottled, you're gonna wanna keep your eyes open for this one. A little more information should be dropping soon. It wouldn't surprise me if the notes get leaked sometime over the next week or so. All right, next up, let's talk about what is probably going to be the biggest release from this list. If I had to guess, that's where I'd put my money. You likely already know what I'm talking about also. Dior Sauvage Parfum. So you've got the original Dior Sauvage, which is an eau de toilette. Then you have Dior Sauvage Eau de Parfum, and this new release, Dior Sauvage Parfum. which means that Dior is kind of following in Chanel's footsteps here. So Chanel has Bleu de Chanel Eau de Toilette, Eau de Parfum, and then they released Bleu de Chanel Parfum. Now Sauvage, the exact same thing, Eau de Toilette, Eau de Parfum, Parfum. And this shows how much Dior is putting eggs into the Sauvage basket. For the longest time, Dior was about fragrances like the Dior Homme line, Dior Fahrenheit, Dior Eau Sauvage. But now it seems fragrances like that are no longer really the focus of Christian Dior. Regardless though, let's talk about Sauvage Parfum. So this has notes of mandarin orange, bergamot, sandalwood, frankincense, and tonka. At least that's what's been released so far. And now the write-up from Dior. A new highly concentrated interpretation of Sauvage, melding extreme freshness with warm oriental tones and fierce beauty that comes to life on the skin. Francois Dimache, Dior perfumer and creator, drew inspiration from unspoiled expanses of wilderness beneath a blue-tinged night sky as the intense aromas of a crackling fire rise into the air. The fragrance of a new frontier, an interpretation with an enriched, heady trail that celebrates the magic of wide-open spaces. Sauvage is an endless score. Its incredibly dense composition is shaped with subtle nuances to create unique flashes of light. For Sauvage Parfum, I imagined the impact when intense freshness meets the smooth depth of an oriental. I maintain the powerful soul of Sauvage by giving it nocturnal accents, an animal attraction, and rounder facets. That write-up does continue on, but that gives you a pretty good idea of what they're going for here. A ton of you out there are going to say I have no interest whatsoever in a Dior Sauvage Parfum, and yet a ton of you out there are going to buy this. And honestly, it would not surprise me whatsoever if Dior Sauvage Parfum is much more well received than Bleu de Chanel Parfum was, at least as far as the community goes. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, it sounds interesting to me. If they take Dior Sauvage and they make that a little bit darker and they do successfully add in the nuances that they're talking about, it could be great. But we'll have to wait and see. Next up, a new Calvin Klein Eternity Eau de Parfum. Basically, if there's any fragrance out there whatsoever that's an Eau de Toilette, at this point, you should expect an Eau de Parfum flanker at some point in the future if it's remotely successful at all. So this one is going to have a top of apple and sage, a mid of geranium and cypress, and a base of sensual leather and vetiver. And I do like how they make sure that you know the leather that they are using in Calvin Klein Eternity Eau de Parfum is sensual. Obviously, Calvin Klein Eternity is one of the most popular, successful designer fragrances over the past few decades. I mean, it's stood the test of time. People have worn it heavily for, like I said, decades. So if you're one of those people that really liked Calvin Klein Eternity, or maybe you still wear it now, maybe you want to keep your eyes open for this one. It's possible it takes that DNA and maybe modernizes it. Next up, a new Kenneth Cole release. Kenneth Cole Mankind Legacy. And I really do like this shot, this promo shot from the fragrance, because it looks like the dude that they have modeling for this is staring straight into your soul. That is an intense look for a Kenneth Cole fragrance. He takes it seriously. Quick write-up about this. Kenneth Cole has launched Mankind Legacy, a new fragrance for men. Mankind Legacy is a flanker to 2013's Mankind and follows 2015's Mankind Ultimate and 2016's Mankind Hero. And I know this is obviously not what the fragrance is based off of, but when I hear Mankind, this is what I think. That is Mankind to me. Yeah. Mankind Legacy is a dynamic new scent that celebrates the modern altruist, reminding us all of the opportunity to create a legacy of our own. Spraying this fragrance on is going to make you think of that. Yes. Mankind Legacy brings an exciting edge to the Mankind collection. The fragrance has elements that awaken the senses and inspire you to make your mark. Opening with the combination of citrus and icy aromatic notes of sage provides a lively freshness and surge of energy. Comforting rosemary follows, imparting a feeling of well-being. Warm, reassuring notes of vetiver and amyris creates a long-lasting scent that asserts confidence. Additional notes include mandarin, nutmeg, fir balsam, pink pepper, and cedar. Kenneth Cole fragrances are fragrances that you can typically pick up very cheaply from discounters, at least after they've been out for a little while. So if you are interested in this one, it may behoove you to wait a little bit after it's released and pick it up from somewhere like FragranceNet, FragranceX, or your favorite discounter online for much less than retail. Next up, let's talk about Hugo Boss again. So they have Boss Bottled Tonic, and Hugo on the go. So these 3 fragrances from Hugo Boss are now available in essentially Hugo Boss's version of the Dior Sauvage Very Cool Spray bottle. Hugo Boss basically saw what Dior did with Sauvage and then Dior Homme Sport with putting them into those quote-unquote indestructible spray bottles that are air-powered, not aerosol. And they said, hey, Dior is having some success, why don't we copy that? So basically these are supposed to be bottles that you can throw into a bag and carry with you wherever you want to go, or throw into your car and refresh with fragrance throughout the day. Notice that the concentration on these bottles says fresh eau de toilette, so I'm assuming that they're going to be a lower concentration than the actual fragrances that you would get in a normal eau de toilette bottle. I know one of the main ways that this is advertised is for people that are going to the gym. So you could just throw these into your gym bag and not have to worry about them breaking because they're not glass. Then after you get out of the gym, after you're done, you give yourself a spray with the on-the-go bottle, and then you smell nice. So as of right now, these are retailing for about £50 in the UK. As of this video, that's about $60 US. I'm gonna cover one more fragrance in this video, and this will be part 1. And then I'll shoot part 2 right after and just put out 2 parts, because otherwise this is gonna run really long. Like I was afraid of, there's just a whole bunch of stuff to cover. So the last fragrance I'm gonna talk about in this video is the new Yves Saint Laurent Y Flanker. Technically this was announced a little bit before, but I didn't get to cover this on the last This Week in Fragrance video, so I'm gonna cover it here now. And honestly, the name of this fragrance is not that good. I don't know that it was thought out very well. So the new Yves Saint Laurent Y Flanker is called Live. YSL Y Live, basically. The issue with that is if you're an English speaker, you can pronounce this word as either live or live. So that means that this fragrance could be read, Yves Saint Laurent, why live? It's very deep, the meaning there. Why live? I'm going to assume though that they meant it as Y Live. So yeah, YSL Y Live. The top note is orange blossom, the mid notes are ginger and bergamot, and the base notes are sage and juniper. At least those are the only notes released so far. According to the brand, a recognizable, elegant combination of a black jacket and a white t-shirt served as the fashion inspiration of the previous Y edition, reflecting a balance of power and freshness, while the new fragrance favors more intense, dynamic aromas and a sleek black shirt that suits Adam Levine. The Yves Saint Laurent Y Live composition opens with a sparkling, lively, and floral bouquet of orange blossoms, which brings us to a heart of fresh and spicy ginger combined with bergamot. The citrus spicy energy of the heart is accompanied by aromatic notes of sage and a wooden chord of juniper in the base notes. The fragrance is inspired by men on a journey of discovery, looking for personal fulfillment. I will tell you that YSL Y, the Eau de Toilette and Eau de Parfum both have worked really well for me in terms of just being a casual wear, spray and go type fragrance that you can wear lots of places, including the office, that also get a lot of compliments. So if that's the type of fragrance that you really enjoy, then I would say you're probably going to want to check this one out. Now, obviously, without having smelled it, I can't tell you that this is going to be as good as the Eau de Parfum or whatever. Some people would say as bad as the Eau de Parfum, but personally, I like that one. Yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and get our noses on it, see how it is. All right, that's gonna do it for the first part of This Week in Fragrance. I've gotta cut this because it's running way long. There are a bunch more fragrances that I'm gonna talk about tomorrow. And honestly, there were a ton of fragrances that I had to cut from the video that I wanted to cover, but then it would be 3 parts long. There were a ton of releases that were announced between my last video of This Week in Fragrance and this one. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you again next time tomorrow with part 2.